All right. So top-down analysis is, what I always do to kind of find my plays.
Realize that if they kept climbing that tree, yeah, there's something in that tree. They were looking in it.
And you always want to start off on a larger time frame and come down to a smaller. If you see a play, that's if you see a play. Now, I like to start on a daily a lot of times. Um, that's just how I like to do it because I like to get an overview on a larger time frame and come down to a smaller. So the first thing that I always have to look for is, I find my levels. I already have my levels on SPY that matter for right now. So I'm not really worried about finding any levels. But if you need to find levels, you just would, you start off at your weekly or daily, and you will find where they're touching multiple times, right? And the thing about levels is you use past data to determine what may happen in the future, right? So even if we look at this 444 right here, you can notice that we have one, two, three, four, five, six, plenty of touches right here, right? Just from this is from June, right? June to now, we have 6 touches. But in back here, you see we have even more touches. That lets you know that this is a key level, right? So I got that from the daily chart. All right. So we know 444 is a key level. And also 433 and 431 are also key levels, right? So you want to use key levels, you want to look for patterns, and you're looking for the opportunity. So one thing that people, kind of ask is, well, how do you determine opportunity? You determine opportunity by finding how far can something go below a certain point or above a certain point, right? So if I'm charting and I have a level on SPY and I say, okay, I think SPY can go from 435 and the next level that matters isn't until 450, right? That is a huge, that's a huge gap, right? So you want to be looking at things like that. So you just take those kind of things into account. It is how far can this thing go? And it's relative to the stock, right? Because if you have, let's say, a stock has a $2 possible move before it gets to the next key level on something like PayPal, that's a big move for PayPal. But something like Tesla, if you're not getting a $1,000 contract, you're not gonna make anything. So it's relative to the stock, but you always find the opportunity by finding out how far can this thing go, right? And it doesn't matter if you use levels, whether you supply and demand, the zones, whatever you want to do, you're looking for how far, what's the risk to reward you. That's what you're always looking for. So right now, we are in between two levels. We're in between 444 and this 433, 441 type of area right here, right? Now, as of right now, you can kind of see, so we're in this zone, so I'm looking to see, we can kind of go either way. So let's kind of see what we need to do for both sides. You can see right here, I kind of already have this drawn out. This is a bear flag on SPY, right? So a bear flag is a bearish type of pattern, and you're usually looking for it to fall down to the next level, right? The next level here is 433. So a SPY breaks this bear flag. I am fully expecting SPY to come down to 433, right? So we know that I already got this notion. Okay, if SPY breaks this bear flag, I may be bearish on the market. Boom. Okay. What does SPY need to do to be possibly bullish? To be possibly bullish, SPY needs to keep trying to make higher lows and higher highs. So SPY needs to get above this high of today, right? Which is, what is this, like 442, 441, 442, around there. It need to get above that to be bullish, right? So in between this little area right here, you really don't want to be going heavy right now because you want to trade with solid direction. You want to trade with confluence. You don't have solid direction and confluence when it's in between things. You want to get in things when they have, that momentum. So SPY will start back having momentum towards the upside above this 442. But you got to be careful because this level is right here at 444. Now I'm gonna show you something else right here. I don't know if you use supply and demand, whether you use levels. Honestly, both of them are going to be around the same places, right? It's just a different way of looking at it, right? So if as far as levels, this 444 is the level, right? But as far as if you use supply and demand, let me show you this. If you use supply and demand, this is the next supply zone right here. Here's your next supply zone, right? So notice that my supply zone on the 4-hour and the resistance right here is at the same spot. You're gonna notice that a lot, right? So whether you use supply and demand or whether you use what's it called? Levels, either way, you'll be able to see that, right? So I would be leaning more so kind of bearish right now, just because we are inside this bear flag pattern. And we know we're kind of looking forward to go down here. Now you may ask, well, what is this right here? This little zone right here, I just like to be aware of where things can bounce, right? So we know to keep going higher, you have to make higher highs, higher lows. If SPY gets in this area and bounces, it will have made another higher low, right? As long as it doesn't break this low right here. If it doesn't break this low and it bounces here and breaks this and makes another, it's making a higher low. But if we don't hold this demand zone, and we come back down to it, we break through and we make a lower low, we're probably coming down here to 433. Now, I would put money on it that we're probably going to come to 431, which is a heavier level, right? So those few things that I'm looking for. So I kind of got a bearish type of notion. Now that I have a bearish type of notion, I'm just gonna go through a couple quick examples right here. I ain't gonna be before y'all long tonight. Now I'm looking at Apple, right? I already kind of feel that the market may be a little bearish, and you can kind of see I already got my stuff drawn here. If I look at if I look at Apple, excuse me, and I'm just looking at it from the 4-hour right here, does anyone know what this is called? Does anyone know what this is called right here? This is a type of pattern on 4-hour. Any guess? There are no bad answers.
The rising wedge.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. We have a rising wedge pattern on Apple, right? And I see, say, pennant. All right. So let me show you the difference right here between a pennant and a wedge, right? In a wedge, your trend lines are going to be going in that same kind of direction, right? Whether it's a falling wedge or a rising wedge, your trend lines are going to be going in the same kind of direction, and they're going to be squeezing as the pattern progresses. As you see here, wide, then it gets smaller. Wide gets smaller. Wide gets smaller. That would be wedge, right? So a pennant is when the trend lines are about to converge. You have these lower highs, but you have higher lows, right? That is what forms a pennant. Is when the trend lines are about to converge. Right here, they're going the same direction. Right here, think about it like a car, right? So these in this wedge, if you got two cars driving on the same lane, they're going to, they're going to meet, right? But here they're driving the same direction. Here they're driving the opposite direction. This one's coming down, this one's going up. So that's the main difference. Pretty much the only difference between the wedge and the pennant. Well, let me not say the only difference. But that's the main difference. It's just how the trend lines form. Now, a rising wedge, even though it's going up, a rising wedge is a bearish type of pattern. Now, notice where we are right now. Where we are right now is we're right at the breakdown point for Apple. So Apple broke down from 177, and shout out to Brad. Brad killed Apple the other day, last week, right? So we caught this play on Apple, broke down from this 177. This was the breakdown area right here. And notice, if you notice, a lot of pretty much every trade that we take in a chat is either a breakout, or it's a breakout and retest, right? So we've already broke out. So this is actually the retest right here. We're actually retesting. So if Apple breaks down and SPY starts breaking down, you have two things that's saying that the market can come down. That's all the confluence you need to take puts on Apple, to be honest with you. Is SPY coming down and Apple coming down, right? So if you was to get in this, when this thing started breaking down, let me give you a couple, maybe an entry point or two. So right here we see the rising wedge. A possible entry that you could take, honestly, if you would have seen this, if I would have seen this today, you really maybe could have taken this as a risky entry and put your stop loss like above the high. But for tomorrow, a place where I would like to get in, honestly, let's see. I kind of like this right here. It's not bad to enter where it is if you can just put your stop. You could really put your stop 177.4-ish right here, maybe. Because you do have, I put a line here, you have with resistance today, and it was also a level back here. So if you was to enter anywhere in here, your stop loss would be 177.4. But for an explosive move down, I would look to enter under 176.27. From that point, we can start coming down, right? So from a level standpoint, if I'm looking for some levels right here, would I really plot that one? You could possibly plot that one, right? Which is at 175.62. If we come down, trying to find some more levels, I would say that one right here, 175.08. And then from that point, you would really be coming all the way down to this point right here. Don't get confused here, but you would be coming down to this point, which would be the demand zone on the 1 hour time frame. So honestly, you can possibly really even take Apple all the way down to this 174-ish type of level here, right? So that's just a few things that you can be looking for. Does this make sense? Let me know if this makes sense or not while I plot these levels right here from the 1 hour. I'm using a mixture of zones and levels to find possible entries and exits. That's all I'm doing. Yep. Say it makes sense. Got you. Right. So that's Apple. I'm gonna put this in the chat for Apple. Now, another one, which honestly is a lot simpler, a lot simpler than Apple is Google. I took a trade on Google yesterday and I missed it. Here it just didn't work out. Had got stopped out of that. I was expecting to catch this downside play here. I seen it. It came down here and it retraced to the upside. And I didn't think it would break this 128.5, but it ended up doing it. But I'm glad I cut losses when I did. I always respect your stop loss because I mean we would have been down a whole lot more today. So, but for Google, it's very simple. I'm gonna show you guys this from the daily time frame right here. Right now it's in a bull flag, right? So it's definitely in a bull flag on the daily. But if this thing comes down, super, super simple. You really don't even need no lines, no nothing. Right now, all that matters to the downside is this right here. It needs to break below 127, and it can, not saying it's gonna come all the way down to 123 in a day, because definitely not. But I would, you can scalp it and scalp it down, we're not trying to catch the whole move. We just want a piece of the pie, right? So you can catch some explosive moves to the downside and also think about what we have. We also have SPY having a bearish flag. We have Apple in a rising wedge, right? So really, Google, not a lot of analysis needed here. We need to get below 127. Simple as that. Below 127, that's where you want to possibly look for them puts. And like I always say, like I always tell people, don't get in just because it hits a price point. You want to look for what it's doing there. You want to look for how the candles form, what's the volume, what spot, those kind of things. That's what you're looking for. Not just getting in because it hits a level. See what QQQ looks like. Haven't looked at this a whole lot, but if I'm looking at QQQ, I mean, it's kind of shot up a lot. I mean, honestly, with QQQ, I don't think it's shot up to the point where I'd be like, man, this thing is gonna come down. But at the same time, it can, right? So I really, honestly, what I think I might see from QQQ, I feel like QQQ might actually consolidate rather than fall back down. It can fall just because SPY looks like it can possibly fall, so it can definitely happen. But a consolidation day would be a consolidation day here would be bullish for QQQ in my opinion. Just looking at what it's doing. Now, what I will say right here is it's going to be tricky because Nvidia's earnings is tomorrow. So that part is going to make this a little bit tricky. But I mean, that's just towards the end of the day. So that's QQQ. Those two are the ones that I really, really, really wanted to watch yesterday. And now we'll do quick breakdown on PayPal. Like I said, if you want the in-depth one, it's on, you'll look at it in the Discord or on my Instagram. I broke it down there as well. But PayPal, while we're watching this, you got to prepare, plan, execute, right? So I seen PayPal right here, bullish engulfing on a daily, right? So since I know it's a bullish engulfing on a daily, I know that we can possibly take this to the upside. So you're looking for, where are my upside targets? Looking right here, top-down analysis, come down to the 4-hour time frame. Notice if I'm looking at my 4-hour, we already had the bullish notion because we had that bullish engulfing. Two levels, 60, 60.19, right? Now, above this 60.19, my next level wasn't until 61.44. So it's like I always say, you have to know how far can this thing go and what is that amount relative to the stop. $1 and what is that? From 60.20 to 61.44, that's like $1.25, close to, right? So that's a lot for PayPal, right? So you've seen on this day trade today, we were able to bank like over 40% if you held the contract. The last runner that I cut was at 40%. All right. So we know above this point we can possibly come here. That makes this an explosive possible day trade. Now, if we come and look what happened, looking on the 5 minute right here. Now, when I entered on this candle, right? Now, this candle wasn't ideal simply because it wasn't a lot of volume, but I was okay with the risk because my risk was very tight. I was going to cut this if we got a 5 minute candle close below 60. So I knew if we could hold 60, we had opportunity to go up. And you can see we kind of got right at it, right at it, to be honest. Which, you can kind of expect because when this thing is breaking 4 hour levels, when things break large time frame levels, they're going to come back and retest. 9 times out of 10, they're going to come back and retest. And that's all this thing did. It broke, consolidated, dropped down. Even on this drop down, where you can see how low the volume was on the drop, end up pushing up, and that's really all she wrote. So it kind of shook people out and it took off, right? And where did it take off to? To this red box. Notice what did we just do with SPY and Apple? We use levels and a mixture of zones. Now, if I'm looking at my 4 hour right here, let me show you this. If I'm looking at my 4 hour, you can't see anything. Like where did that box come from? So I came to a smaller time frame. I don't see anything. So I'm basically looking for, is there any place that I can be like, okay, I want to trim here because I know we could possibly get stopped here. Notice in this box that I drew, I didn't draw this box just right now. This box is already here, right? Notice in this box was consolidated. And that was to be noted because if you look on the 15 minute right here, this was a supply zone right here. Notice where's the next supply zone? Next supply zone is right here. And at this place, what do we also have? A level. These things add up. I promise you, these things are like, they go hand in hand. Don't look at levels and that's something that I used to do. I used to look at levels and zones as like, oh, I gotta use one because I can't use both. I promise you, what took my trade to the next level is learning to use both. That adds confluence. So imagine if you see a zone, a demand zone, and you see a support, you would be more inclined to buy there, right? So just use them together. So this acted as a place of take profit for me. So when it got up here, I took off a lot of contracts and I took the last one when we got this very last push right here, which ended up being a good decision. I mean, we'll see tomorrow if you possibly come in up here and test this level tomorrow. But that was PayPal. Um, that was PayPal. Let's see, we got a Moderna. Let's see what Moderna looks like. mRNA. Let's see what Moderna looks like. COVID numbers going up. So I do have a level right here. This must be a super old level. I haven't applied at Moderna. And I don't know how long. Yeah, this is a strong level. It's probably from the weekly. Yep. So it's a level right around here. I could have did this on a little bit more accurately, but it's right around. It's not perfect, but it's right around this area, right around this 18, this 18, 20 to 19-ish. So we're about $2 away from that. You really need to break above that point, to be honest. And this one might be pretty tough because this is a weekly supply zone right here. That is a weekly supply zone that we're about to get into, which also, like I always say, these things line up. Where's this zone? Right where this level's at. Right. So it's about to enter a weekly supply zone. So it's gonna be interesting. Gonna be interesting. And you also have the weekly, this line right here. I use the 200 MA for the daily and weekly because it can act as a support or resistance. It's also going to be coming up near this 200 on the weekly. So probably gonna need some good news. Gonna need spiking COVID numbers some more or something like that for this thing to keep going because this is saying possibly shorted, especially if it's just amazing news that's gonna come out with it. But that's what I see. Hope that makes sense. But those are a couple plays I like. Apple and Google. I'm gonna post them charts in the chat. I'll post SPY as well. Like I said, it wasn't gonna be a long one. I do have some stuff to do now. I just want to hop on real quick, show you guys what I kind of found. If I find some more stuff in the morning, of course, I'll drop it. But that's really what I was kind of looking at from earlier as well on Google and Apple. And honestly, SPY too. You can never go wrong with trading SPY. So I actually traded SPY more last week than I've ever traded ever. So yeah, that's what I got, man. If you got any questions, I'm gonna be up for a while, so definitely hit me on the back end. But I appreciate everybody hopping on. Got any questions? Let me know. And I appreciate y'all.